And as you can see, I just wanted to kind of show you guys, like, this is what I'd be looking at, like on my other monitor, like one of my other monitors that I have over here to the right. This is how I'll be keeping an eye on the markets. I'll be watching the SPY, the Qs on the 5 minute or 10 minute, and I'll usually be watching Apple as well. And then whatever underlying I'm trading, I'd have here on a higher time frame. At this particular time, I guess I was obviously trading the semiconductors. So that's why I have the SPY, the Qs, NVIDIA, and AMD. But normally I'd be watching SPY, Qs, Apple, and whatever underlying I'm trading on a higher time frame most of the time. But again, coming back to AMD, just watching the price action, trying to put in some some short-term intraday levels just in case, just putting in some short-term intraday levels. Now, obviously, your main levels you're going to get off your daily chart, but you can kind of grab levels intraday as well. So I'm kind of just like trying to put in some levels, some support and resistance zones or supply and demand zones, just so I can know where my best risk to reward is on my next trade. Top of the range rejected, fading. But again, look, this is around lunchtime. It's midday. I particularly don't like to trade midday. 3/4 of the time, I'm pretty much done by lunchtime, anyways. But the last few days, I mean, there has been a lot of volatility in the markets. Friday, I actually traded the entire day. Like I sat here the whole day, like through midday, through lunchtime, all the way till market close. And look, I'm seeing a lot of green and white prints over here, seeing some bouncing, like some bullishness coming through. So even though I drew that little resistance, I mean, support and resistances aren't guaranteed to hold up. It's looking like it wants to hold up though. Look, it hit that resistance zone here, and it's like a zone, and it's rejecting. And it's also rejecting off the 9 EMA here. And at this point, I'd just be watching it. Look at all these green and white prints. That's letting me know that it's kind of strong and there's some buyers. And then I'm also watching the level two. If you see, look, you can look at the bids and the ask and see them like going up or down. I watched that as well in conjunction with the tape and also like the size of the blocks. But I mean, you can't really you have to kind of use the level two with a grain of salt because they spoof the level two as well, meaning they'll put in orders and then cancel them. So they'll have like big orders just sitting in the level two, like on the bid or the ask, to kind of scare you away. But look, if you're watching this bid and this ask, look, it's just going up. 69. Watch. Let's go back. Look, 64, 65. See some red prints, but see some red prints. Look, 64, drop down to 63. All those green prints. Then 64, 65, 66, 67. Look at the sizes. 1300, 1100, 1100, 1600, 2700. And then you're seeing a bunch of green and white prints. And look, we're bouncing. So it looks like we're trying to reverse. So obviously, I mean, that level, it was good. I mean, it broke through the resistance, but it became support. So now what we want to see is, are we going to continue up and go cross back over that red to green line? And again, here you're just watching the price action and kind of keeping your eye on the tape to see kind of like the speed of the tape and what kind of prints are coming across the tape, like mainly red or green. I'm not too sure exactly what the white means. That's why I drew that trend line to make sure that it wasn't a fake out. And as you can see, it came back to this level. If you remember, I drew that little resistance range right around here. And I got the level, again, it's an intraday level. So, I mean, it's not going to be as strong as a daily level. But if you look, we consolidated here. Then we washed out, hit the bottom of the range, bounced, ran up, crossed over the 9, the 10, VWAP, and the 120, came up here and rejected. All right. And then you see the wick here. wick here, we rejected and headed back down. So that level was significant. And look, right here, this is where we it went back to the top of the range, rejected at the top of the range again, came back down to this level and bounced, and then headed up, and it looks like we made a new high there. Again, look, play the ranges. Doesn't matter if we're going to test the top of the range first or the bottom of the range first. But notice, all day now, at least up until this point in the day, this has been the top of the range. So basically, consistently, you could have just waited for price action to test the top of the range, sell the rip to the bottom. You don't even have to catch it all the way to the bottom. If you're grabbing a large enough size, position size, like 5 to 10 contracts, you don't even need to catch it down here to the bottom. You could sell the range from here to here. That's a decent gain. Now, if you catch it from the top to the bottom, definitely decent. But look, a person could have had the opposite thesis, waited to get to the bottom, and then make sure that we put in the bottom of the range, right? And then grab calls to the upside. We top out here. Notice area of consolidation off the open. Pretty decent level because it put in, it kind of based here before it bounced up with decent volume. I mean, I can't check the actual volume because, again, this is a recording, but based, decent volume, breaking over all indicators and going red to green. So you know that's a pretty significant level. Then as we're selling off, we tried to bounce around here, couldn't, tried to bounce around here, couldn't, rejected. So you know this is a decent level right here. And as we bounced and came up, rejected, wick, sold off, tried to bounce again, rejected, sold off, then kind of chopped around a little bit. But notice we're chopping around but consolidating on the 9, the 10, VWAP, and the 120, and kind of right around this level. And look at this wick right here. So again, it tried to break out, but people sold into the strength, and that's why you see this long wick on top. But notice where the wick kind of terminates at, right here around this level. So you know that little resistance slash support little area that I drew out was valid, because look how the price action responded to that level. It either bounced off of it, rejected it, rejected off of it, rejected off of it, was able to get back up above it, then it became support, bounced up to the top of the range. Now we know this is the top of the range because we see it from earlier. So at this point, you know it's okay to at least sell the rip, at least to red to green line, and possibly further if we break down the 9 and the 10. But once we're getting back to this level, you know it's time to go ahead and get out, or at least take off 3/4 of the position and see if we're going to go ahead and fade. But if we don't, you've already locked in the majority of your profits. And look, wick on the bottom, bouncing back up to the top of the range again. So let's see if we could have sold this rip again. I mean, I would have thought yes, because we've rejected this level 3 times, the top of the range 3 times already on this day. But again, I'm watching it. I probably would have went ahead and jumped in up here. And now at this point, I'm just watching the price action. I'm watching the tape. I want to see a bunch of red prints. But like I was saying, I would expect for us to go ahead and sell off again. And then just a continuation. Again, top of the range. I mean, I'm seeing a bunch of wicks on the top. That's signifying weakness. We're already at the top of the range. All right. That's an elevating factor to sell the rip. Now, if we break down this 9 EMA, and look, I'm seeing red and white prints. You can also look at the level too. So look, 93, 94, 95, kind of trying to bounce a little bit. I want to see this go to 93, 92, 91, and I want to see a bunch of red prints. And I want to see the tape start moving with some velocity here. But again, with the top of the range, all right, numerous wicks telling you that they're selling into this move. So there's a lot of selling going on. And then look at the volume. Seeing all those red prints? Breaking down the 9. All right. See all these red prints? Now look. Now we're in the 80s. 89. Well, 91, 93, trying to bounce, 92, 91, bunch of red prints. I expect to see 91, 90s coming soon if we break down the 9 here. Again, the best risk to reward would be up here at the top of the range, but you just have to be ready to stop out in case a freaking whale, a huge killer whale comes and splashes in the freaking pond, buys a couple million shares. You got to be ready to stop out. But I mean, bunch of elevating factors here for the thesis to the downside to sell the rip. Top of the range, 3 times it tested. Each time it failed. Then we got the wicks here. So that would have strengthened my thesis to the downside and gave me some confidence to go ahead and scale in or go with decent size. Now from up here to here, I'll be looking to probably scale out a little bit just to lock in some profits at this red to green line. But again, looking at the bids and the asks, it's just systematically stepping down. So remember, we're in the 90s. Now we're in the 80s. So 86, 87, 86. Well, we're 87 on the bid. Bunch of red prints just went by. Look, dropped down to 86 and 85, 84. And notice the sizes: 1400, 1500, 1465 prints. Look, that 1455 or whatever, it looks like it was spoofing or something. It sat there for a while, or maybe it just didn't get filled. Well, no, it got filled. Look, we're bouncing again. But again, what did I say? At this red to green line, go ahead and lock in some profits just in case we bounce here. Because obviously red to green is a level as well. I mean, it's the previous close, so you know it's a significant level. And then we're chopping around up here, but this is a 3-minute chart. So we're chopping around, consolidating on this level off the open. And you see it acted as resistance, then kind of acted as a support, then rejected up here, tried to bounce, dead cat bounce, tried to bounce again. They sold into it and then faded it down. So you know this is a significant level. That's why I say if you're going to go ahead and sell the rip up here, your first price target, or possibly where you want to be looking to go ahead and get out if you have decent enough size, is the red to green line. Look, this thing's bouncing.